Go back into the office or continue working from home? What the hell do you do? In this episode, I'm sharing my perspective of my experience of going back to the office recently. And so, if you like what you hear, one, share your thoughts. Two, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to stay up to date on this damn channel. There's more videos like this that are coming down, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, so what is up, everyone? How are you doing? Let me move this damn mic a little bit. Beautiful. Okay, so we're talking about returning to the office. Returning back to the office for people who have been in jobs where you're primarily in an office and you can do your job at home. For those people in those industries, primarily you've been working from home a lot. And for all the others who can't, people who work in hospitals, etc., they've been having to go into the office and make the trek to work, and so um, yeah, this is more of a topic for people who are struggling with the decision of, do they go back to work or not because they've been working from home. Those industries that you are able to work from home, a lot of tech industries too, right? Anything where you can log into your computer, go to Google Meets or Skype or Zoom and handle meetings that way and get your day-to-day job done through your computer. Um, you're probably right now thinking, what the hell do I do? Do I go back to the office? And there are so many schools of thoughts here. I just did a quick search on HBR, so Harvard Business Review, and there's like 12 articles about going back to work. If you talk to more than 5 people about this, everyone has a different opinion. And so there's no right or wrong answer here. I'm going to give my perspective though, because I went into the office twice over the last 2 weeks, and I went into the office yesterday, and I want to share my experience and I'll share my thoughts because some of you might be thinking this, and I don't think there is a perfect answer. I don't think any one person has a perfect answer, as you will be able to tell. Everyone has a different opinion on this, but a lot of people have moved. For me, in the pandemic, I moved. I lived in New York City, a borough within New York City. I used to live in Queens within New York City, and I would travel to Manhattan. For those who aren't familiar with that, um, that would be maybe a 30-minute commute, 30 to 45 minutes door to door, hop on a subway, and I'm at work, and it's very easy. And mid-pandemic, I did a lot of things mid-pandemic. What the hell happened to me in a year and a half? Where got married, I moved into a house, and I had a baby. What a damn year for me. What an amazing year for me. Um, but I moved. So I moved further away from the city into the suburbs of Long Island, which Long Island is like a suburb, depending on where you live in the suburb, but a suburb of New York City. A lot of people who live in Long Island commute to the city with the train or car. And I'm about a 45-minute train ride to the city. And door to door, it's probably an hour and a half total, depending on, could be an hour and a half to 2 hours, really depending on how the train times work and how the subways are operating. But so that would probably be a normal commute, but I've been working from home a lot. My commute has been waking up and going to my office, which is 5 steps away from my bedroom, so it's a much different commute. My experience going into the office is, yeah, here's my thoughts here. My experience going into the office was, I got to meet people that I haven't had a chance to ever meet yet because of the pandemic. It's been a year and a half. People have left the company, new people joined, and everyone has been working virtually. And we have meetings virtual meetings and one-on-ones, and you get to see these people's faces, and that's great. I think that opens up the door to build a relationship. Um, but there's something missing. There's something missing than when you actually meet someone in real life. There's just a certain energy to it, and it opens up more of a door to build a relationship that you would not really have had the full opportunity to do so. And so a lot of one school of thought is people need to get back to the offices. People need to get back to the offices because it builds culture. And not only does it build well, mainly culture, um, does it help collaboration? Maybe. I think the collaboration side of it is that when you're tighter with your team, when you have the chemistry, when you have the culture, collaborating is easier. Um, I could sort of see that. I I think it's like a lot just getting on the same level with someone. You've been working through almost 2 years with people who've been completely remote, and sometimes just leveling with someone, going out to lunch and leveling with someone helps you understand their thinking and the inner workings behind things that you may not have had insight into that really aren't communicated through virtual meetings. It's just a nice time to build that chemistry. And so for me, I met a handful of people that I've never had the opportunity to meet in person, but that we've been on hundreds of calls with. And it was really nice to actually meet those people. On the other side of it, on the other side of it, my commute. So my commute to work was not that bad. It's an express train to the city, and then I take a subway, and then subway takes me right below my building, and I'll take an escalator up the building, and I'm there. Maybe an hour and a half. I read on the train. I read on my beautiful Kindle, and it's actually a pleasant experience. On the way back, that was a little more annoying. I missed my train. Then I had to wait another 40 minutes for the next train. I missed my train by 1 minute, by the way, which really pissed me off because the subway was really slow and common New York City issues. The subway is slow, and I would have been probably less annoyed if I missed the train by 10 minutes, but I missed it by 1 minute. I ran to it. The doors closed just before I got a chance to get on the train. So I missed it by 1 minute. Then I had to wait another 40 minutes for the next train. So that just adds another 40 minutes of waiting for the next train for your commute. And then I finally get on the train. The train isn't bad per se as I got a seat. Um, it's had a little bit delay at one stop, but then I finally got home around 7:30, 7:45 PM. So and that was probably probably 2 to 2.5 hours of total commuting back home, which is that is the part where you have to balance now. It's like my experience was I enjoyed so much getting back to work, and then it's the downside is that long commute. And another thing about getting back to work is that for me, the mindset was different. If you're just constantly working from home, you never get that compartmentalized separation in your head of like, am I working or am I home? And for me, going into the office and coming home and having those two somewhat separate, they're never going to be completely separate because I have work email and I check that on my phone if there's something urgent. But to have that separate and come home felt good. It felt different. Whereas when you're working from home all the time, you start work at like you start work sooner and you end later and there's no separation and it can get a little stressful and sometimes I don't even leave the day. I could go a week without leaving the house cuz I'm just there's no need to. I just wake up and I work and then I go back to sleep and I eat dinner, then I go wake and work and it's you can go a week without ever leaving your house and that can lead to a bit of yeah, a bit of a sanity issue. And so for me, that separation was helpful. So it's the separation, it was the fact that I met people and was able to level with people, build chemistry, help build a culture that is hard to do over virtual meetings. And then the downside was that commute was hell. And that is a normal commute for many people who don't have the opportunity to work from home. But now relatively speaking, I'm comparing my commute to what I'm doing now, which is working from home. And so, yeah, my experience was good and bad. And so the way I look at this is if you have the chance, if you have the opportunity to work from home, how I'm thinking about going about it is going into the office anywhere from 1 to 3 days a week. It might be 1 day a week, it might be 2, depending on how I feel and depending on what the meetings are, to continue to build that chemistry with people that I've never met, to 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 lean into those positives that I mentioned, the positives of separating myself from work and home, and but not overdoing it where if it's 5 days a week, I'm completely less efficient. I'm spending potentially 4 hours commuting when at the very minimum, I could spend 2 of those hours. Let's just say those 4 hours I wasn't even working, but in theory, you could be more efficient if you're working and allocating 2 or 3 of those hours to work. But even if you weren't, you can put those hours towards other things. A hobby, it can be towards, and hobbies are good. Like if you put a hobby towards cooking more healthy, that could have benefits for your personal life. It could be spending more time with if you have a kid, or it just helps with your personal life and helps keep a balance as opposed to just sitting on the train and commuting back and forth. So I see positives and I see negatives to both of it. I think for me, I think a hybrid working situation is going to be the way to go. That's what everyone is saying. Some old school people want to be in the office more often. That's just what they're used to. A lot of newer people getting into the workforce who've been working for 5 to 10 years um, value the hybrid environment. You can be just as efficient from your computer if you're able to do that, right? You can't do that if you're a doctor, but maybe you can do it. Who the hell knows? Maybe there are some things a doctor can do virtually now. But a fighter fighter, police person, yeah, they can't. That's a different situation. But for people who can, I see hybrid as a extremely valuable thing. So my recommendation would be do hybrid. If you haven't been to the office yet and you're getting those office jitters, you have to try it out. It's a different feeling. I think you'll be more energized. For me, it energized me a little bit more. I felt the energy of the office and the people that I work with. And I'm not going to do that 5 days a week though because commuting costs and the time I lose. Um to me is not worth it. So the silver lining of this pandemic, if there's any silver lining for me, the silver lining is that it has forced companies and businesses to think more hybrid and hybrid work environments, which we have the capability of doing. We have the technology. The reason why you a reason why a company is completely opposed to a hybrid working environment to me doesn't make a ton of sense. You have the capability to do it, and so if a company is completely against a hybrid and they want everyone in office, maybe there are some reasons. I don't really understand them, uh, unless your client is very regularly very regularly coming into the office. You could be a salesperson and face-to-face meetings might be important, but a lot of salespeople probably now have to think about how they're selling virtually because people who are in sales might have the opportunity to work from home. And I can guarantee there's a lot more people working from home because of that. So now, if you're selling to people working from home, you got to figure that out. So I am going to do a hybrid. Who the hell knows what that ends up meaning? 1 to 3 days, probably between Monday and Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday is a almost definite work from home situation. That is the best balance that I can find. I if you do a quick search on what you should do from working from home, you'll see hundreds of articles, you'll hear hundreds of opinions, and you have to do what's right for you. If your boss is completely opposed to this hybrid environment, my advice to you is if you can do everything that you can do from home, from work, ask for a pilot week, say, or a day. Say, next week, I'm going to try, can we try working from home 1 day a week to see how efficient I am. See if it ruins any of the process and operations and quality of work. And if that works, then maybe you can move on to like 2 days a week. And then maybe you do 3 days a week in gradual sessions. Uh, I'm sure your boss would work with you on that gradual sessions. And if you're just as effective at one, establishing relationships, building culture because you're there in a hybrid situation in the office, but you're also, when you're home, the quality of work is there. Your responsiveness is not, you cannot work from home and everyone question, where are you? Like, are you even working? And you're not attending meetings. That's not good either. But if it almost is not noticeable, if it's not noticeable that your work quality, the deliverables that you have, project stuff that's going on, if none of that seems to be diminished as far as work quality, I can't see a reason why someone would say this can't be a long-term thing. So if my recommendation would be, take your commute into account. If you live maybe 5 minutes from the office, could be a different situation. Might be even almost easier to go to the office to keep that the because all the positives. If you're 5 minutes from the office, 10 minutes, the positives are completely outweigh the negatives. My negatives are 4 hours of traveling to work for the day and the cost. You probably don't have that if you're 5 or 10 minutes. But my recommendation would be do hybrid. Ask your boss. Ask your boss could do a pilot, and because pilots a pilot session is fine. If it doesn't work out and the quality isn't there, then we'll reverse it. Don't worry. That's how I would say. It's like, hey, let's say your boss is Joanna. Hey, Joanna. Um, Look, I think that I can get a lot of the work done at home that I do here, and I value very highly the culture that we build in the office. So I definitely always want to make sure that's a priority. But there's so many benefits, that I think I can also deliver from working from home. There's a lot more hours that could actually even work instead of commuting. And so I'd like to try next week working from home 1 day a week. And if it doesn't work out, I'll come back to the office the full 5 days. If it does work out, all I ask is that we can maybe try 2 days a week. And and all I ask from this, if it does work out and the quality of work is there, all I ask is I can continue doing this hybrid work, unless at any point you see there's an issue with work quality, then I'll come back into the office. I cannot see someone who is reasonably thinking about this, who's rational, to say, yeah, that's fine, let's try it. I can't see that. So that would be my recommendation. If you guys have any thoughts, any differing thoughts, because I probably could, I know there's different thoughts out there. If you have different thoughts, you have different recommendations, if you have a different experience, I would love to hear it because that's how we all learn. This is a self development community. We all learn together. So write that down in the comment section. I will reply. I reply to every comment. And if you did like the video, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to stay up to date on more videos like this. We do 2 to 3 videos a week like this. Either it's a conversation, I do a book review, or I just shoot the shit here. And so to stay up to date, do those things. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.
It goes lights, camera, action when I step into the limelight. Easily adapted to the high life. Dressed to impress like it's prom night. And when you live in top shelf, you know you gotta set the bar high. Had the same dreams.